Hey y'all, it's Sarah, the wine-loving bookworm, back with another book and wine review for your Thursday night. Sorry I'm getting to this so late. I had company over. My sister was here last weekend, and I just didn't finish the book, and then I finished it like 2 days ago. But tonight was the first opportunity I had to do the review, so I'm a little late. So, as usual, let's start with the wine. I chose Erath Pinot Gris for the wine tonight, and I actually did some research on the wine. So, what I did not know, Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris are actually the same grape. They come from the same grape. Gris means gray in French, and so that's like kind of the French side. And then Grigio is the Italian side. Now, I don't know if that means gray in Italian. All I know is that Gris is on the French side, Grigio is on the Italian side. Now, although they come from the same grape, they have kind of evolved differently. Grigio is a lighter wine, and Gris is a more full-bodied, heavier wine. You don't see a lot of Gris around. Pinot Grigio is more popular. It tends to have low acidity, higher alcohol levels, and notes of ripe tropical fruit to more earthy flavors. So that's very vague. That's kind of everything. Erath Winery is in Oregon, one of my favorite states, and it's in the Dundee Hills area of Oregon, which I looked up on a map, and it's kind of southwest of Portland, and there seems to be a lot of other wineries. This one's been around for a while, like 40 years, but I saw that it was bought out by Chateau Saint Michel, which is a very big winery, maybe like 13 years ago. Anyway, this wine is described as aromatic and floral with white flowers, nectarine, and melon with a hint of key lime. So, let's take a smell. Okay, is that ridiculous? Like, I don't know. Does that smell floral? I guess. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's try it again. I'm so bad at this. Let me start one more time. I'm supposed to swirl it around my mouth instead of chugging it. Might be getting melon. I don't know. Maybe floral. Never eaten a flower before, so I'm not sure. I will get better at this, okay? I'm trying, but that's not great. Okay, so let's move on to something that I'm better at, the book. I read Little Gods by Meng. This is fiction with a tiny bit of historical fiction and a little bit of magical realism, I felt, at the end. Maybe I'm wrong about that. 279 pages. This was my Harvard book club, first edition club, that's what it's called. And sure, signed it, which is really cool. And the point of view kind of switches. It's always in first person, but it switches between the characters. And I just realized I did zero research on the author, so I'm going to read you her biography. Meng was born in Shanghai and lives in San Francisco, a Kundiman Fellow. She's a graduate of Harvard University and Hunter College. Smarty. And this is her debut novel. So, dang, I forgot to do the research on her. She looks fairly young. So, that's Meng. Okay, let's get on to the book. This book spans from Beijing to Shanghai to America and follows the story of Sulan at first, and then it kind of transitions into her daughter's story. Sulan was the daughter of poor farmers, and she manages to be accepted into a very prestigious university in Beijing. She's real smart, and she becomes this brilliant physicist. She's really fascinated with the concept of time and with quantum physics. And quantum physics, if you don't know, and I really don't know much about it, kind of deals with the tiniest particles in the universe, like electrons and atoms, and how they move. And no one really knows how they move. No one's seen how they move. So there's all these theories. So Sulan is very fascinated by this, but she gets frustrated because she can't really figure it out either. So it ties in. This book is kind of about science and relationships and the connection between the two, which is very different, kind of is a little overwhelming and a little over your head at times. But when you start thinking about it, very interesting take on this. So anyway, back to Sulan. She marries Yongzong, I think his name was, and has a child. Her husband disappears while she's in labor with her child, like just disappears. And even towards the end of the book, they kind of made it not clear whether he died or he just took off. Like I had the impression he just took off, and then kind of at the end of the book, you thought, but maybe he died. Like everything, time is like a concept here, and everything's all over the place. So it gets very confusing at the end. I don't really know what happened to him. Sulan moves to America, where she takes care of her daughter in a very distant and aloof manner. She kind of tells her, be good, praises her for not talking when she's like, 1 and not causing a fit, and gives her a lot more adult responsibilities before she should. Leah is the daughter's name, and she tries desperately to please her mother, but to no avail. Her mother's much more interested in, like, the things she's thinking about in her head, and you almost see little, like, breakdowns here and there, like she's going a little nutty. But she really doesn't have a lot of interest in her daughter, other outside of maybe how she makes her look, When Sulan unexpectedly passes away when Leah is 18, Leah travels to Beijing to she's going to bring her mom's ashes back. No, I think she traveled to Shanghai. I don't remember which one was first. But she wants to bring her mom's ashes back and try to find out who her mom was. And she has some surprising results. I won't give away everything. But so again, like I said, the big theme is the movement of time as the fourth dimension and how we maneuver through it. Sulan really tried hard to forget her past. And she had all these like very esoteric thoughts about how to move through time where your past doesn't matter anymore. Those were some times when I was like, hey, but whatever. She, and again, fascinated with the concept of time. She seemed particularly fascinated with quantum physics and could never seem to conquer it, which made her angry. Leah, the daughter, always felt a little displaced and unloved by her mom. She never really felt like she had a home. So I think that's one of the reasons she went back to China with her mom's ashes, to try to discover her roots. If anything, Leah is sadder because of going to China. I think this book is kind of depressing, and I think that's how a lot of Asian literature tends to turn out. I don't know if it's just a very difficult culture to be raised in or what, but it seems to be depressing. She truly believes, after going to China and seeing all this stuff, that her very existence, she wishes her mom was a different person, and she feels like Leah as herself prohibited her mother from being who she wanted to be. So she said, there's a quote in there that said, she's talking to somebody, and she says, she's dead. And he said, what happened to her? And she says, I did. I was the one who stopped my mother from becoming who she had meant to be. Now, I think that language is interesting. Who she had meant to be, not who she was meant to be, who she had meant to be. So Leah prevented her mother from becoming who she wanted to be. Not maybe who she was destined to be, just who she wanted to be. She didn't want the life of a mother, and she didn't really want Leah. It's not Leah's fault. Duh. She didn't ask to be born. But that's where she comes from. And Leah also searches for her father. And this is where a little bit of like the quantum physics comes in as it relates to relationships. I'm just going to read you this quote. It said, in the universe, there exist objects that cannot be seen or have not been seen, that assure us of their existence simply by the way they affect the behavior of nearby lesser objects. This was the measure of an object, something that exerts substantial influence over others in its field, drawing continually toward itself, even if ever so slightly. So basically that's theories of quantum physics. You don't really know that an electron is there. You're just observing the effect it has on other things around it. I'm not a scientist, but that's how I understand it. So with this phrase, she's this is what her mother used to say. And so I think it sums up a lot of the relationships in the book. Leah trying to pursue her mom and trying to make her mom, so, affecting things around your field. Sulan trying to keep her husband, Yongzong. Yongzong pursuing Sulan in the beginning because he thought she was this exotic creature, before they got married, and really hard pursued her. And then Zhang Bo, who's another person who was in love with Sulan, pursuing Sulan. So it's kind of like they're this object in their field that they're pursuing that they can't really grasp and can't really know, but they only know by the way it makes them feel. That was my take on it. And also Leah trying to find her father, like this presence that she's always felt in her life that affects her life, but she's never even met him. She doesn't know if he's alive. She doesn't know if he's dead. And also basically this is the quintessential kind of Asian literature summed up here, the sadness of life. Love can break a person. How once you've tasted that kind of happiness, it's hard to go on without. You have to know what to do with hope, which is to squash it. Ooh. You have to tell yourself whatever story you must to rewrite happiness into something ugly, something you don't even want. So, depressed yet? Yeah, some of this stuff really runs through Asian literature. This book has a lot of layers and it's really complicated. The more I think about it, the more I like it. When I first read it, I was a little bit confused, and then I had to let it sink in a bit. And I definitely, as I've thought about it more and, reread some passages I underlined, I really like this book. But man, you could think about this for years and still come up with new stuff. She's really good. I like the juxtaposition of science and relationships and how they're connected. When you think science is this cold, aloof thing, and then relationships are these warm, emotional, illogical things, that putting that together is interesting to me. And I think Sulan always had difficulty with that because she was so critical and scientific thinking. She had trouble, relating that to relationships in her head, but I think she did it well on paper, like I said, with the whole, things in your field affecting you when you can't even see them. So this is no beach read. It's very academic. It's very higher level, I think. But it's really good. So if this is something you'd want to read to challenge yourself, then I think you would like it. If this is something you want to take on a plane and just flip through, maybe the next book I'm going to tell you about, you'll think that way about that, but not this one. But it's really good. I'd give it 4 out of 5. So, okay, so next week, all right. Sue Grafton wrote all these books, like the ABC books, like A is for this, B is for that. And I've never read them. And so I just thought I'd pick up the first one, and see what I thought. And so I picked up A is for Alibi, Sue Grafton. I'm not impressed so far. If you want an easy, like, traveling read, this would be definitely it. It's kind of mindless. It's in the 80s, so that's a little jarring. Like, there's no cell phones and there's no nothing. But I'm not going to judge it. I'm not even halfway through it yet. But it's one of those books my dad used to read, like those dime store detective novels. So I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll definitely be done with it by Sunday, and I'll let you guys know what you think. I feel like if I read one, I'm going to have to read the other 24, not 26, because I read that she died before she did Z. I mean, someone do Z. That feels like a big, like, loose end. Like, you can't end on Y. So, anyway, all right, that's just my, like, OCD, I guess, kicking in. But, so, I'm going to finish this and let you know how it is on Sunday. Little Gods by Mei Zhang, man, if you want to think and really consider life, read this book. It's a lot. It's heavy. And Erath, Pinot Grigio. I guess I never said if I liked it or not. I was trying to find the key lime. This is good. It's good. It's moderately priced. I think I got it on sale, but it's like $10 or something. Yeah, so that's all for me. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you on Sunday. Cheers.